Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Sox on Tap.
Tony, my first reaction is just fuck yes, let's go.
Sox versus the Twins. That's where it all starts. Because it all starts taking care of business in-house in the Central Division.
That's right, I'm a meatball.
You got to bring that top button swag, baby.
It is always great to beat the Cubs.
And I'm a homer, so I always say they're gonna.
Dallas Keuchel Lamson got some beards that you should be afraid of.
What everybody said when he gets out there, it's me versus the other guy, and I'm going to beat him. So I just love that mentality. It's cool and fucking tough.
Steve, would you say that Tony is mad online?
I would definitely say that.
The White Sox winner.
White Sox fans, welcome into the Sox on Tap post-game show. It's Jonnie and NWI here alongside NWI Steve to discuss White Sox 5-2 victory. Open the series over the Oakland Athletics this fine Monday night. Steve, how you doing, my man?
Hey, yo, Johnny. Always doing good after a nice, crisp White Sox winner, baby. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of stuff to get into tonight. Some milestones hit, a little bit of small ball being played, and bullpen returning back to form. So those will be the main topics covered here tonight. But before we get into the game action, listeners, make sure you're visiting ontapsportsnet.com for all your Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs. Give us a follow on social media at Sox on Tap and at OnTap Sportsnet. And the show is also brought to you by Grandstand, so make sure you're visiting them right by the ballpark. 35th and Wallace is the location for all White Sox merchandising needs. You can also shop online, grandstandsox.com. Visit them on social media at Grandstand Sox. So, Steve, like I mentioned, 5-2 victory tonight, getting off to this series starting on the right foot here. Nice to see after dropping the final two of that Yankees series at home. Dallas Keuchel, let's start right from the top here. Had a little bit of a rough second inning, but overall not bad. And I think the White Sox did well on him by removing him after the fifth.
Yeah, we've talked about this quite a bit in recent weeks here. That one bad inning has really been the bugaboo for Diamond Dallas throughout the course of the season here. And I know I've been kind of honing in on this quite a bit here at this point, that it's two times through the order, 5 innings with Kikel. Anything more than that, you're really just kind of playing with fire at this point. And I think that this is a game plan that we're going to really start to see the White Sox and Tony La Russa, Ethan Katz implement here over the last 6 weeks of this season and into October, should they need to use Dallas in a pivotal must-win situation in the postseason here. And then you saw him obviously backed up by the bullpen A squad, as we typically like to call it here. This is the formula here. This is how they're going to go about trying to win the important games during the month of October.
Yeah, most definitely. A bullpen ace squad like we're talking about. We'll get to them in a minute after we get to some scoring plays that happened here. But obviously, Kopech in there. Then you got Craig Kimbrell and Liam Hendricks, both those guys. All of those guys, excuse me, not both. All of them, all three of them getting the jobs done in their respective innings tonight. But let's start with the scoring here because it was the top of the second, like I mentioned. That gave Diamond Dallas some trouble. Matt Chapman solo home run. This makes it 1-0, and he just left this. StatCast says it was a slider, but it's only coming in at 79. Over when you leave that middle out, Steve, that's going to get crushed.
And especially you do that to a guy the caliber of Matt Chapman, odds are you make that mistake out over the heart of the plate, you're not going to get that baseball back, and that's what we saw here.
Yeah, most definitely. So, good play for them. Gets A's on the board, and they wouldn't be done because Dallas Keuchel goes. This is a little bit frustrating for me. I'm sure it was frustrating for him as well. Gets ahead of Harrison, 0-2 in his account, and then he hits him. Comes inside, hits him. Okay, you can rebound from that. He's a ground ball pitcher. You can, get a ground ball and get out of that. But no, what does he do? He walks the next two guys, gives up an RBI single to Canna, and then luckily was able to get Marte grounded into force out here, and then struck out Olsen. But this is like you talked about the one inning where things just seem to fall apart.
That really had an opportunity to snowball from this team here with that inning. Just that sequence of, like you talked about, that 0-2 hit by pitch. That's something that you never like to see as a pitcher, and you follow that up then by issuing 2 walks to the bottom part of this Oakland A's order. A couple of guys that really aren't prolific offensive hitters. So, you put this team in a position now where they've got bases loaded, 1 out, and then you bring the top of the order up here. This had a chance to get out of hand quickly. So you actually do have to give Dallas some credit here for really hunkering down in that situation, getting out of that inning with only 2 runs on the board there. And allowing this team to be in a position to ultimately come back and win this game.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it there, Steve, because you get upset with him for, leaving the ball out Chapman, and then obviously the hit by pitch and the couple walks there, losing the command after. But he did make a nice play, too. I need to point this out. There's a reason he is a Gold Glove pitcher. I know some people could say that's overrated part of his game, but it just the fact he made nice, reaching grab out to his right and fired home to cut down the run. Piscotty at home there, and then came back and got Olsen the K. So, a little bit of rough stuff that got the Sox down and then rebounded, though, and like you said, limited the damage. And that was big tonight because this is all the A's would get. Let's go to the White Sox scoring bottom of the third. It would be Cesar Hernandez with the sac fly scoring. Sebi Zavala on this one. Nice to see Cesar. First instance I talked about a little bit of small ball going on. White Sox manufacture another one, the bottom of the fourth, and this would be Sebi doing it himself with an RBI single that scored Yohan Moncada. Or excuse me, that was after this inning started. I need to backtrack a little bit here because Moncada started the single. Vaughn then grounded into a double play. Seems like this is going to be a little bit of a waste, but with 2 outs, White Sox able to get it going. Luis Robert with the single. Goodwin, walk, and then that's when Sebi came up here. Let's talk about Sebi a little bit. Hey, I know it's not always consistent, but he has shown a propensity to be able to get the job done in certain situations, Steve.
You're absolutely right, Johnny. I mean, look, he is showing that when Yaz Money gets back here in a couple weeks, this is your backup catcher. Zach Collins is dead man walking. We've talked about this quite a bit of late, and I think every time that Sebi comes out there and does something positive offensively to help make contribution to this team here, he's just further cementing his position on this roster going forward. And we saw some pretty quality at bats here tonight. He had another key pivotal offensive sequence coming up here that I know we're going to get into, but he's showing you that, there's some signs of life in that bat. I think that obviously there's going to be ebbs and flows to this here, but if he can make some positive contributions here throughout the course of the remainder of this season here, there's no reason why this guy can't be on a major league roster.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said on Sebi there. And then I think also one thing that goes unnoticed, because Sebi got the RBI here, but this is the start of a nice night for Luis Robert. Obviously, we'd have the big blast later in the game, but overall 3-hit night for him. Nice to see Luis Robert back in action and looking like he's fully healthy in this game here. So White Sox add on another one in the bottom of the fifth. That was Anderson leading off with the single. Hernandez with the bunt single down the line that Chapman maybe misplayed a little bit. Brady strikes out, but then Eloy delivers a rocket down the third base line that hits off of Chapman's glove. That makes it 3-2 here. White Sox. Moncada would strike out. Vaughn fly out to end that inning, but hey, good to see Eloy just keep rolling, man.
Eloy's just hitting piss rods all over the ballpark of late. He's getting himself into good quality hitters counts, and he is squaring the ball up, and guys are making mistakes out over the heart of the plate with him, and he is just missing. And even, when they're not making mistakes over the heart of the plate, he's so dialed in right now that he is just hitting, like I said, piss rods. I mean, every time seemingly he goes up there. This is the force that was in the middle part of this lineup that they have been missing for a good portion of the season. Now you put that big bat in there, and you just see his ability to drive in key runs, and that was a big spot right there. I know a lot of people like to talk about RBIs not being that important, and I think the context of them matters. When we're talking about that, this was a sequence right here where you had to find a way to get that run in right there, because that was the go ahead and ultimately the winning run. Eloy found a way to do it. He has been really driving the ball and driving in key runs for the last couple of weeks here since he came back into the lineup.
Yep, obviously we've seen it in bunches with the multi-home run games and multi-run home runs too. That adds up quickly, so that's nice to see. It gets the numbers up there after missing so much time to begin the season. But then on that, your point to him, hitting the ball extremely hard. Don't have it pulled up in front of me, but I believe that was 102 or 103 off the bat on that line drive. And Matt Chapman, he's a pretty tall dude, and he's one of the best defensive third basemen in the game. So that just shows you how hard he actually hit that thing for it to deflect off the glove and go into left field there.
What's funny is that, they talked about in his previous at bat, he hit 110 off the bat that Chapman made a superior pick on. And so, Eloy must have just thrown him a change up there at 102, and Chapman was kind of caught off guard by it.
Yeah, it goes to the point, though. Hit the ball in the air. That'll be better because the one that was 110 was unfortunately on the ground earlier. But this is one that mattered. Gets the run home, like you'd mentioned, would eventually be the game-winning run here. But Sox would not be done. And we are getting that sequence you mentioned earlier with more Seby Zavala situational stuff here. Let's set up the inning here. Luis Robert, like I mentioned earlier, nice game for him. Leads it off with the single. He steals second, and he's originally called out. Good job by the White Sox coaching staff. Challenge this. I know there's some ire as of late, but it happens over the course of a 162 game season. White Sox challenge this. They get the call, and he was very obviously safe. Another point that I tweeted this out from Sox on Tap, Steve, but I want to bring it up to you too. Beyond, obviously big spot in the game here. I'm very thankful for the sliding glove that Luis Robert wears, because you saw how violently his hand hit into the base, and you saw even the corner of it kind of like plush up a little bit. That could have been, we could be talking about some broken fingers here. So shout out to sliding gloves real quick there.
Yeah, there's a lot of force when he gets rolling there. And you try to make that stop, with all that energy going forward right there with a hard slide, and as big and as strong as that dude is, I mean, that's a jammed wrist, broken finger waiting to happen right there. So to your point, yes, keep that Arby's mitt on there, and let's keep that guy in the lineup.
Yeah. So Brian Goodwin ground out would send Mr. Robert to third, and then Seby Zavala comes up in this spot, and he lays down a sack bunt, a squeeze, and scores the run. And obviously, we didn't know at this time. You always want to score as much as you possibly can. But in the situation, Steve, I think it was the right call, and obviously worked out in White Sox favor here.
100%. And Steve Stone was actually talking about that leading up to the sequence right there, and saying, this was actually a very good spot for a safety squeezer, given the A's defensive alignment. They had the infield playing back pretty deep right there. And he point blank said, he's like, if you can push this thing down the first base line right there, you're going to be able to get the run in, especially with as quick as Robert is. If he gets an appropriate read on it, that's going to be another run. And then right on cue, there it was. And that was just picture perfect execution of a safety squeeze right there from Seby Zavala.
Yeah, it is showing just another element of his game. And sure, it's not going to happen all the time, but that is something now that we've seen him do in a game. And I don't know if you'd be asking Zach Collins to do that anyway, but that Seby can get that down for you. He's very fundamentally sound on his approach and the push with it, getting it down the first baseline far enough, allowing Robert to score. Not that he needs that much room, but obviously you want to place the ball in kind of no man's land, so to say there. So that'll put the White Sox up 4-2 after 6 here. And then the next run for the Sox to round out our scoring here would be Luis Roberts' third hit of the game, and an insurance blast out to left. This guy makes it look so easy, Steve.
Luis
Love it. I love it. Buzz tweeted out during the game. He said, I just rolled the R so damn hard, I think I chipped my tooth. Love to hear that, because that's where we started. It started with Buzz, Tony a little bit. I joined in on it, and now we've got you in on it too. Takes a little bit of crafting for it, but Luis Robert, 3-hit game, big insurance blast, a couple of nice singles here tonight. So good to see from Luis Robert. Let's talk about the pitching side here, though, Steve, because like you'd mentioned, bullpen A squad came to play tonight, and it was Michael Kopech starting off 6th inning, coming in 2 clean innings. This guy was throwing gas tonight. Everything, essentially, I could only count maybe 3-4 fastballs that were below the 97-mile-an-hour mark.
Yeah, he was amped up today. He was bringing it, and he really had that high elevated fastball working to put guys away. Stone talks about this quite a bit with, the high spin rate that he's got on that pitch, and the backspin that it creates right there, making it just a really deadly weapon up in the zone. And then you saw him complementing that in a number of sequences. I think it was on Chapman that he got him, which is an absolutely nasty breaking ball, changing his eye levels there. And this is what he is able to do when he is right. And we have seen this through a vast majority of the season. There have been a couple of hiccups here and there, but this is the guy right there that in that spot for the 6th and 7th inning, that multi-inning reliever weapon. This guy is an absolute monster right there, and can build that bridge from the starter to the back end of this bullpen, in this case, Kimbrel and Hendricks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would, it's weird to say this, but Michael Kopech has been your most consistent option out of the bullpen. And I say weird, obviously now viewing it in hindsight makes total sense. Obviously, everyone can kind of see that just based on the performances. You never feel really, anxious at all when Kopech enters, but it's because it's been more Hendricks and Kimbrel as of late with some of the flare-ups and issues that we've seen. So Kopech further solidifying that 3 strikeouts tonight, 1 walk. That was, obviously no runs, no hits given up there. So a clean sheet overall for the most part for Michael Kopech. Let's get down to Mr. Craig Kimbrel. So he hits the first batter when he comes in to start the 8th inning. And then he's able to get a strikeout, but then Jed Lowry tattoos one out to right field. Steve, this is a big break because it was a ground rule double that bounced over the fence there. I think a run comes home on that, and the A's are getting within 1 here if that ball doesn't go over the fence. But Dirty Craig able to come back, and he records his 1,000th career strikeout on Matt Chapman, I believe, in that, for the second out of the inning, and is able to get the 3rd via the K as well to close that thing out. And I don't know about you, Steve, but I took a screenshot of it, of Kimbrel when he just, he had a runner on 3rd there. So he's doing like the death stare toward 3rd, checking the runner out. But you could tell he was fired up, amped up, ready to get out of that inning.
Look, that was a big spot right there. You talked about the luck element of that ball bouncing out of the field play right there, and that absolutely, I think, kept a run from getting on the board right there. So, and credit to Kimbrel here in that spot, like Dallas earlier in the game here, really hunkering down and keeping that game locked in where it was at, getting those 2 pivotal strikeouts to close up the innings. That's why you went out and got this guy to miss bats late in games in must-win situations right there. That was on display here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to see that bounce back after, like I said, sometimes, over the course of the long season, some guys are going to give, even your best guys, even your best lockdown guys, every once in a while are going to get touched. But it's about being able to work around that and bounce back from performances that don't go your way completely. And, coming out, shutting the door the next time down. So that would translate over that same theme right over to Liam Hendricks. And hey, talk about being fired up. I don't know if it's the most fired up we've seen him like physically, as in jumping around stuff. I mean, he always does stuff like that, but there had to be a mental factor there. Playing his former team that obviously did not resign him. I don't know if they thought he was too expensive or whatnot. I don't know what the rumors, the rumblings were surrounding that with him with the A's. Probably knew he was on his way out anyway, though. But doing this 3 strikeouts, not even letting him hit the ball in this instance here. Great to see from Liam Hendricks after a lot of people were calling for the roles to be shuffled a little bit, Steve.
You're 100% right on this one again, Johnny. There was definitely a lot more, and even an added element of emotion with Liam Hendricks here tonight. And I think just given the struggles that he had in that Yankees series in particular, he really wanted to kind of go out there and shove, and that's why I think he was really utilizing that fastball today. But he also had, I would say, probably some of the best command of his slider that he has had in recent weeks. So having obviously that second offering there to keep hitters off balance right there, be able to change their eye levels there, making that high elevated fastball that much more of a weapon. That's going to be a key for him here to get on track and prevent those long balls here going forward here.
I really like the observation about the better slider command there, Steve, because I feel like at times Liam Hendricks, and this goes back to just his whole aura, his emotional sort of style of pitching that he employs. And that's totally a part of his game. You don't want to take that away, but you want to be able to channel it and perform at your highest level there. And sometimes I feel like when he is too riled up, you'll see it in the command, beyond just the, slapping himself and yelling and whatnot. You'll see it absolutely spike. Whereas, of course, it's a nasty break. You're going to have some that are going low and away to a righty or low and into a lefty and in the dirt, and the catcher has to make a block. That's going to happen sometimes, but it happens more frequently when he's too over the top. You agree with that assessment?
Yeah, he definitely can be too amped up at times. And look, there's a lot of guys that need to pitch with emotion, but the fact of the matter is sometimes that it just can be a little bit over the top, and you start trying to throw everything 102, 103 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden now your location isn't as fine. You're getting that ball down. So instead of that fastball being at the very top level of the strike zone, all of a sudden now maybe you're down at the belt, a little bit above it, and then that's when you start to get into trouble. So there's going to be times here where he's absolutely going to have to hone that in, stay a little bit more composed here, and he does that. What we saw from him tonight. I mean, this is how the Sox drew this thing up, and they executed it tonight to perfection.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to give a shout out to one of our guys, on tap contributor, Sox Insights Josh. Give him a follow on Twitter. He tweeted this out during the game and said, tonight would be a great night for the bullpen to work out as planned, and obviously the plan was laid out and executed perfectly by all of these guys. Obviously, a little hiccup with Kimbrel there, with the situation with the hit batsman, the ground rule double, but overall, at the end of the day, job gets done. White Sox lock this thing down. No runs after that second inning. Love to see it. That's exactly what you expect from bullpen A squad. So final thoughts in this game, Steve, and then let's move on to game 2.
That's just a good, clean, crisp win. Nice to do that after dropping those 2 straight games to the Yankees there in frustrating fashion. So nice to get back in that left-hand column.
All right, so I love home runs as much as the next person. Don't get me wrong. And we've always said the same, ball go far, team go far. Still believe that wholeheartedly, but we saw early in the season with a lot of the big mashers out of the lineup that the White Sox sometimes are not going to be able to do that every game. They're not going to be able to hit the long ball all the time. So it was nice to see, I will say, a little bit refreshing to see a return and know that even if you're not doing that, you can still set yourself up and be able to win games and execute in those situations. Sebby Zavala getting the squeeze down. Perfect example there. Situational hitting with Eloy Jimenez roping that one down the line for the go-ahead run there. So nice to see that. Don't want to play small ball all the time because you just see the record when they hit home runs. So obviously you aim for that, but at the same time, it's not going to be like that every day. Baseball is a long season, and sometimes you need to win in different ways. So nice to see the White Sox put that on display against a solid Oakland A's team that is, vying for that wild card spot out west there. We'll be right back at it against these A's tomorrow night, that being Tuesday, and it will be a 7:10 start once again. NBC Sports Chicago. Chris Bassett for the A's, Reynaldo Lopez spot start here for our White Sox. What are you expecting from this one, Steve?
Hopefully Raylo can go out there, give the Sox 3 to 4 quality innings. I'm wondering if they're going to try to just limit him to one time through the order again, as we've seen from him recently here. So just go out there, attack the strike zone. He's actually done a really good job of that here so far since he's been back in Chicago, limiting the free passes, which was always a big bugaboo for him. So he's been going out after guys pretty aggressively. We know that this A's team is built to work counts, get on base, take walks, as they famously said during Moneyball. He gets on base. That's their whole key right there. So Raylo, just go out there, be aggressive within the strike zone, and then it's going to be interesting to see how Tony chooses to follow up Raylo tomorrow. I don't think we're going to see Michael Kopech. One of the roster moves we saw here was Mike Wright being brought up, so I'm a little concerned that that's what we're going to see a little bit tomorrow. So hopefully the Sox can get to Chris Bassett, a guy that broke into the big leagues with them. And for everybody that wants to talk about the Fernando Tatis trade and how bad that one was for the Sox as an organization, the trade that sent Chris Bassett, Bassett and Josh Fagley and I can't remember who the third piece was, to Oakland for Jeff Samardzija is one that still looms pretty large here and looks really bad.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, former White Sox legend, old friend, whatever you want to call it, Chris Bassett, going for the A's. He's putting together a very nice season for Oakland out there. So yes, I agree with you. That one looking bad as well, especially considering, just go and Google whatever Jeff Samardzija's doing right now, and so we'll, come into that.
He's counting his $120 career $1 million that he earned playing.
Yeah, most definitely. So, from this one, I have that gut feeling too, like you'd mentioned, as part of the roster moves. I hate to say it, but you may see Mike Wright here if you're just looking for some innings and some maybe a little bit of a bridge there. If Raylo is only getting the 3-4, and obviously we saw that with the series finale at Minnesota, even on a getaway day, big build up for the Field of Dreams games, trying to rest guys, they still eliminated him there. So I would imagine that would be a same strategy employed here, and that's also just set him up best because you're basically hanging him out to dry if you put him through the order. into the 2 to 3 range. So we'll see how it plays out, but just keep an eye on that. Mike Wright could be an option. Also, Zach Birdie was DFA'd as part of that, and then Ryan Burr recalled and Matt Foster sent down. So Ryan Burr is the other new arm, not new, but whatever, freshly called up arm in the bullpen there. So, Steve, let's get picks to click here. Put it in highlights here because I feel like we forgot the last few times. Let's not forget it tonight. We got.
I think Long Vaughn Summer. I think he's going to put one in the bleachers again. I know you're going to be at the ballpark tomorrow. I'm planning on being out there. So, who knows? Maybe one of us. Maybe I'll end up being in the bleachers there tomorrow for a little bleachers and brew action. Maybe I'll catch myself an Andrew Vaughn homer.
Yeah. Hey, I like that pick there. As we're looking at this one, I went with Cesar tonight. He did get a sac fly, so that's all right. I'll take that one there. Looking at this White Sox team, I will go with Mr. Eloy Jimenez based on an extremely small sample size of 4 at-bats. He's hitting 500 against Chris Bassett. So been a little bit since I picked Eloy, though, so I will cycle back to him. That's about all I've got for this one, Steve. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, just nice win. Let's keep it going tomorrow. Let's build a little bit of momentum here. Been a little bit lethargic the last few weeks. It's time to turn the page here and start kicking this thing into gear.
Yeah, absolutely. You can set a tone here because you have this series, obviously a 4-gamer, and then you're going down to play the Tampa Bay Rays at the Trop at the end of this week. So generating some momentum, getting those good vibes rolling back. A nice series win would be nice. That would mean you're winning 3 in the series against the A's. I would like that. That would be good juju going into the weekend, as Buzz would like to say. So that's about it for Sox on Tap tonight. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in on the live stream. You can catch this wherever you listen to your podcasts in the morning as well. We'll actually post it probably about an hour after we're done here. So cue it up for the morning. Make sure you're visiting ontapsportsnet.com for all Chicago sports, literature, and podcasting needs. You can also, find these podcasts right there on the podcast page on the website there. Give us a follow on social media at Sox on Tap, at OnTap Sportsnet. Make sure you're visiting Grandstand for all White Sox merchandise needs, located right by the ballpark, 35th and Wallace. You can also shop online, grandstandsox.com. Social media is where they drop a bunch of their new releases. Really cool stuff coming out from them. That's at Grandstand Sox on Twitter and Instagram. So, Steve, that wraps it up for tonight. I got 3 words. White Sox forever.
White Sox for life.